We've all been exposed recently to the media coverage around family separation and children being taken from their mothers and fathers and held. I found that horrendous, the idea of it as a mother and a grandmother, how the child might feel and the mother and father feel not knowing where their child was. I began to think about how the separation issue could be worked through in a tapestry. During the design process, I began to think about how the Impressionist painters, such as Leonardo da Vinci and then Raphael, used mathematical proportions to get a balance and a harmony into his paintings. So I used that as an idea, where the mother was the tallest on the top and her children were the two bottom ends of the triangle. The issues around the Mexican border and family separation was playing heavily on my mind. And one day I just saw this image in the media of a woman carrying her 2-year-old son, may have been 3, and her little daughter walking beside her. And I made a quick sketch of it. So I began to play around with that image and those shapes, and I just enlarged it up then to figure out what kind of features I would give each of the family members. Then I had this big white space over here, so I decided to add a third figure, a child being torn apart from his parents and hands on this side, which led me to this part of the design. So now I have the family and the child and the hands. I decided to actually rip the family apart by tearing the design in half. Because the family were being ripped apart, I wanted that to be a really strong feature in my design. So that rip then became a very important part of the design for me. In the weaving, I have decided to weave it in red with an unfinished line, not a straight edge, but a more kind of up and down crooked edge to give the ripped effect. Within that rip then, I'm going to keep the warp, which is the central part of the weaving, intact. So the warp will be exposed and shown as part of the finished tapestry, which will give me opportunities to show the tapestry in different ways, depending on the location where it will be hung. It could be hung in a straight line beside one another, or one tapestry higher than the other, or maybe in a corner. I decided to make one side of it, where the little boy's legs are hanging, slightly more enlarged than the other side. My idea again was that I could hang it in a variety of different ways, so that one piece looked like it was closer to the viewer than the other. Some of the challenges I faced then while constructing the weaving was how to fill the background space, especially on the section side 2. I had a lot of background in it, and I wanted to express the emotion of shattered or shards because of the family being torn apart and the shattered lives that resulted from that. So I began to make shapes in triangular shapes, sometimes blended and sometimes more hard-edged. It made it easier for me in some ways to weave the background because I had all these nice little shapes to weave as I was filling in the background space. The second challenge I guess I faced really was how to make the family look like a global unit, that it could represent any race at any time in history. And then thirdly, I really enjoyed making a decision about what kind of shoes to put on the little boy who's being carried in his mother's arms. So I did some research into high street shoes that little boys like to wear to come up with the design that I've given him a nice pair of blue funky shoes.